Thank you so much to all of you for coming to the Harper Creek Oratorical Contest. A few housekeeping rules before I introduce you to our principal, Mr. Anthony. Please make sure your cell phones are off. That is very important. Also, as I call up the speakers, there is no clapping in between. And also, you need to be still and sit in your chair as the speaker is speaking. If you need to go to the restroom, that needs to be done in between the speakers. Once we close the door, we will not reopen the door until a speaker is done talking. Okay, at this time I'd like our principal, Mr. Anthony, to come on up and say a few things.
You can apply for me if you'd like to. So, thank you to Mrs. Tomas. She didn't take a moment to introduce herself, but she's a staff member here at Harper Creek and a member of the Optimist Club as well. So, thank you all for being here tonight. I just wanted to say how pleased we are to be able to host the Oratorical Contest for the first time in over 10 years. And we're so pleased to be able to partner with such an outstanding organization in the Optimist Club that has such outstanding members. It's full of members from our Harper Creek community, many of which have some very deep roots in the Harper Creek school system and the community as a whole. So thank you to our judges for being here tonight, some from outside the district as well, and to give our kids this experience. So I'd like to acknowledge our kids at this moment and give them a round of applause now, if we could. And to acknowledge their work and effort that's come to this point. And I'm so excited to hear about their theme today, which is optimism, correct? So I'm very excited to hear about their perspective from our youth about what optimism really is, because as educators and community members, we know how important it is to have an optimistic outlook on the future. So I'd also like to acknowledge Tiffany Hurley, if she'd stand up for a moment, Tiffany Hurley. Tiffany's our very own staff member here at the high school, and she's been instrumental in getting some of our students here tonight to this level and encouraging them and providing an opportunity for them to be here. So thank you to Tiffany and especially you parents and community members who have provided us this opportunity and for empowering your students to be here tonight. So we thank you very much. We hope you enjoy, and I know I'm looking forward to hearing from our students today. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mrs. Tomas, I'm assuming, and thank you very much for your time.
At this time, we would like Speaker A.
What the world gains from optimism. So what exactly does the world gain from optimism? Well, there are many just different perspectives on the world and positive outlook, but I personally believe that optimism is about bettering yourself, which brings out the good in other people. This is also why I believe that if the world had a more positive outlook, our lives would change in every single aspect. Right now, I would just like to say that my life isn't optimistic at the moment. I'm pretty in a pessimistic mess right now. My grandfather has been in the hospital for around 12 weeks now, and when you get the call saying that he might not live to see the next day, you're not very optimistic either. But luckily he did see the next day, and that just reminded us that we always have to keep our heads up no matter what. Now today, I feel like part of his recovery is because of our optimism. So by being an optimist, you will have personal benefits, become a better leader, and help change the world. So by having an optimistic mindset, you have everything in your favor. You have better relationships, a good education, and especially your improvement in health, which is what I'm going to focus on today since it's so close to me. So Harvard conducted 2 studies recently. The first was with 309 patients that were undergoing coronary artery bypass surgery. Along with the tests before the surgery, they also did psychological tests which measured things like optimism and depression, among others. After 6 months, they realized that optimists were half as likely to go to the hospital as pessimists and be re-hospitalized for their surgery. The second study Harvard did was also with medical in the heart and everything like that, and pessimists are 3 times as likely to have a heart attack than an optimist. And this just blows my mind because it's almost like such a simple concept can save your life one day, and that's just amazing to me. And if you really think about it, your personal benefits and your influence on other people really correlate with each other. Because the happier you are, because you're optimistic, you have a good relationship, your education's nice, and your health is improved, you make other people happy, and because you're being happy. So basically, you influence people just by smiling at them. Washington Post conducted a study that said, among voters, which stated that no matter what party you vote for, what race, religion, gender you are, everyone wants a leader who is more optimistic than themselves. So you may not be president yet, but you can really influence people in your life, once again, with just a smile or words. Speaking of being a leader, I'm sure everyone in this room has been posed the question, what would you do if you ruled the world? Well, I mean, my answer has changed a bit since I'm getting older now. I mean, it used to be no boys allowed, and now it's everyone should have a little bit more resilience, which is a big trait in optimists. Resilience is a person who makes an unfavorable situation into one that's more desirable. Dr. Dennis Charney from Mount Sinai School of Veterans did interviews on war veterans from Vietnam. The thing is, these veterans were war prisoners for 6 to 8 years. He concluded that if you have the veterans that had more resilience, more optimism, and had found a better meaning in life were less likely to have PTSD. Psychology Today even said that competence, optimism, and resilience go hand in hand with each other. So if I were to just give this speech and not tell you anything about what optimism is and just give you all these studies and facts with no explanation, you'd probably think this is magic, right? Like there's no possible way this could be such a big impact on so many people's life. Well, in a way, optimism is like magic because it can really help you in personal ways. It can help you become a better leader, and it can help you change the world. But in one way, I'm glad optimism isn't magic, and it's pretty easy to use, and it's just a mindset and a lifestyle, and you don't exactly have to be Harry Potter to use it. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. When you look at the world, do you see a great place where we can live, or do you see a place filled with sorrow, crime, and in all just a horrible place to live? If you feel this way, then you may be a pessimist, and you might want to pay attention. So being optimistic can be many things, but it can help you reach your goals, be more successful, and in all help your health. Helen Keller, who became deaf and blind at the age of 2, had goals to prove to everybody that she could do whatever anybody else can, even with her disabilities. And this drove her to campaign for such events like social welfare, women's suffrage, and disability rights. Now this directly goes with reaching your goals and being successful. This drove her to reach her goals, and optimism can help you reach your goals too. Optimism helps you with your goals because it gives you just a driving set to want to achieve these goals and not want to give up if things go bad. Being successful goes hand in hand with your goals because studies show that optimistic people get more job opportunities such as promotions and raises than pessimistic people, because optimistic people work harder in their job and they actually want to accomplish things with their job, whereas pessimistic people just think that they will do bad and bad things will happen to them all the time, so why try if things are going to go bad? Many people are becoming pessimistic in the world, and this is really bad for the whole world because the health rate is slowly declining because when people go to the hospital, they believe that they will not make it out alive, and just from the simplest things like a leg injury or an arm injury, they think that they will just not come out of it, and they look at the negative instead of the positive. Whereas if you're optimistic, you can easily just think, okay, I'm going to get out of here, I need to try and get better instead of just sitting in the hospital bed all day. My grandfather was in the hospital a few months ago, and it looked like he wasn't doing very good, but he decided to be optimistic about it, and he wanted to reach the goal of getting out of the hospital and just to be with his family for longer. So optimism drove him to get out of it, and he did. So when you're pessimistic, you look at the bad things in life instead of the good things, where optimism can help you in just everyday life and looking at just the good things if you're having a rough day, instead of looking at having a really bad day and not looking at any of the good. So what do you think the world gains from optimism? Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. There's a major debate between, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? The only way you can answer that question is answering another. Are you an optimist or are you a pessimist? Optimists see the glass as half full. There's hope, there's still something left for you to thrive on. Pessimists see it as half empty because there's no hope and there's nothing left. Being optimistic will help you psychologically, it will help you socially, and it'll make you happier in the long run. I run cross country, so this year I got plantar fasciitis in my foot, and that's when you strain or tear muscles in the arc of your foot, and I had to sit out of cross country for 2 weeks. That really weighed down on me. I was really upset. So I told myself that it was going to get better, and normally stuff like this gets better in like 2 months, 3 months, maybe even 2 years. Mine got better in 2 weeks because of the optimism I had. Optimism will help you psychologically. If you think optimistically, things are going to get better. So I also run track. If I were to tell myself that I'm going to run a race really well, I'm going to run a race really well. But if I tell myself that I'm going to run a race really bad, I'm going to run that race really bad, just because I'm psyching myself out. Last weekend at my track meet, I ran against one of the fastest girls I know, and I never beat her. I told myself that if I stayed with her and pushed myself and stayed optimistic that I would beat her, I would, and I did. Optimism will also help you socially. Everywhere, every day, high schoolers get judged by the people they hang around or the behavior they have. If you are an optimist, you will hang around optimistic people. You aren't going to hang around a pessimist. You don't want to be around someone that's always looking at the bad in things. If you're a pessimist, you're going to hang around pessimistic people. They share the same stuff as you. If you're a pessimist, people are going to think you're rude, or they don't want to hang around you because you're always looking for the bad in things. But if you're an optimist, you'll have more friends because people want to hang around you because you're always happy and you're always looking for the good in things, and they can use you as a support system. Optimism will help you in the long run by looking at the good in things. You will look at the good in things, and good things will happen. Whether it be with family or friends, you will always have someone beside you to help you, be a support system. You can tell them your problems. That's something to be optimistic about. Whether it be getting into a college, you're really optimistic. You really hope you get into that college because you think you're smart enough and you think you're good enough to be in that college. Imagine a community where everyone helped everyone, whether it be cleaning up a park, keeping the community clean, or planting a garden to help the hungry. If everyone around us in every community was like this, the world would be a better place. No one would go hungry. People would be happier and they would have someone there. So if everyone were like this, the world would work together and we'd be united and we would gain from optimism. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. When was the last time someone told you you look good? When was the last time someone told you bad news and it ruined your day? Good or bad, optimistic or not, everyday experiences such as these are rooted by our attitudes and ultimately optimism. The world can be considered a very dark and hateful place, but I believe that with a little bit of optimism in everybody's lives, it can become much better. Many people tell me how happy I always seem to be and how it seems to make me, or how it's hard to make me mad. From this experience, I've partially become fascinated by how optimism affects everyday individuals' lives, and often wonder if it could truly have an effect on the world as a whole. I believe it could. I've done research and found that the three main benefits of optimism are that it provides us with a bright, happy energy, it helps us to become more accepting of one another, and it provides us with a hope for the future. My first point is optimism is bright. To further understand this, let's talk about pessimism. Pessimism is dark. Personally, when I think of pessimism, I think of dark, gloomy colors. Not just my opinion, though. The independent news company found that France and the United Kingdom are two of the least optimistic nations in the world. They're also part of the cloudiest, Northern Europe, as shows 12 years of NASA satellite data. So it's this negative, dark energy from the atmosphere that's bringing their moods down. If pessimism is dark, then optimism must be bright, right? It's also true. Most people associate yellow and red or orange with optimism. ColorMeanings.com says that yellow represents happiness and red and orange represents energy. So if you are like many who associate these colors with optimism, you'll be filled with a bright, happy energy when you're feeling optimistic. It's with this positive, happy energy that brings me to my next point. With optimism, we become more accepting of one another. A World's Values survey found that American citizens were more likely than citizens from a rich European country were to say they had a relatively good day. This stems from what the American dream has to offer to American citizens. It says that everyone has an equal opportunity to a rich and full life. Everyone has the right to success. The Google definition of optimism says that it's the hopefulness and confidence in the future or successful outcome of something. So these both have to do with success, and what I believe is that together they form American optimism. American optimism really started getting big in the 1960s, when Martin Luther King Jr. led the civil rights movement to have blacks and whites treated equally. You may ask, how is this optimistic with so much violence at this time? It's because it was a climax for racial segregation. So many people were optimistic about the future of racial discrimination. The American dream is rooted from the term from the Declaration of Independence that says all men are created equal. Just all men, no matter their socioeconomic class, no matter their gender, no matter their race, no matter where they're from, they're all created equal. They all have the right to success equally. This attitude is spreading faster than ever. Starting in the 1960s with the racial equality, in the 1970s, hippies across North America were calling for world peace. Most recently, same-sex couples are gaining acceptance, starting in 2003 with the first legalization of gay marriage. Millennials are behind a lot of this, and millennials are going to be what leads us to worldwide success eventually. The Huffington Post found that over 80% of millennials are optimistic about the future of the world. Part of this stems from Obama's 2008 campaign when he used words of hope and change for a bright future of the world. Think about it. Millennials who are soon to be running the world are optimistic. They're going to be spreading this attitude to their kids and their grandchildren. They're like a blossom of a tree or a flower. They have so much potential, and when they finally develop, the world will become a beautiful place with a love-like spirit and beautiful acceptance. Millennials have passion and pursuit, and that will lead to ultimately worldwide success. Thank you.
Okay. What the world gains from optimism. My sister once told me what affects you defines you, and I've actually found that this is true. Cultures are seen as good and bad depending on their actions, and people are seen as sweet and nice depending on their attitude. Raise your hand if you've ever been labeled as a different trait. If you've ever been known as being nice or being kind. I know you all have, so I expect to see many hands. There you go.
I was a shy kid. No, don't get me wrong. I'm anything but shy and quiet now. I talk people's heads off. But I moved 5 different times. I had this really bad speech impediment, and I grew up on the countryside, which caused me not to be really by people my own age. So since I was more of an introvert, I kind of stayed in my little shell, not really talking to people. As I got older, though, I realized no matter our differences, we all have one thing in common, and that's optimism. I mean, I saw this bad experience, me being bullied and picked on, and me being shy and not really expressing myself, as a good life lesson that would lead me on and give me more experience. And I think everybody else should. You see, optimism is more than just this happy feeling we all have when something is accomplished that we've been working on hard, or something we get for like Christmas. Optimism is hope that no matter the times, we can improve upon ourselves and get past all the hard times. Now, it never makes it easy. We all may have optimism, but we have to struggle. J.K. Rowling was called truly inspirational by New York Times, and she's excelled. She's known for the Harry Potter books. But she was turned down 12 times by publishers. Not only that, but she had to get divorced from an abusive relationship, and she almost committed suicide. Now, what if during that time span, she lost faith in herself? She didn't think she could accomplish the goals that she had. She would have given up. She wouldn't be the major inspiration she is to millions. She wouldn't be the major author she is. She wouldn't be who she is now. She wouldn't be there for her daughter. Now, it doesn't take magic to just be optimistic, because we all have it. Cultures and nations try to thrive through the depressions and the wars, and they embrace their beliefs that they have. Now, in Italy, they believe a bird dropping on you is a sign of good luck. I would find that as the worst day of my life, and I'd probably be humiliated. And me now, and back as a kid, used to find 4-leaf clovers. Now, I don't know about you, but this was the luckiest day of my life. I had luck for a whole entire day. I could just have so much fun with it. Now, we have the depressions and the wars. We have the feuds between ourselves, and yet we're able to overcome that. We're able to embrace our beliefs, and we're able to have faith in ourselves, because nobody will believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. Optimism is more than just this happy feeling that we all have. It's more than just a good day and a bad day. We welcome new family members when they're born, and we cry when they go away. We struggle during the tough days when we feel down, and we embrace the great ones where we feel wonderful, we're getting compliments. We embrace ourselves as nations, as people. With optimism, we are more than just ourselves. We are who we're meant to be. And without it, we wouldn't be where we are now. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. Throughout history, there have been many trials and obstacles that mankind has had to overcome. Times in their lives when it seemed like they had no future to look forward to, or when their will was tested. These were the times of revolutions, social injustices, and wars. Moments when you might expect men to give up all hope and surrender. You would think that the colonists would stop fighting, that the minorities would back down, and that the armies would yield. However, it is at these moments that something strange happens. Rather than giving up, the colonists begin to fight back. The minorities stand up taller, and the armies move forward. To all forms of conventional thinking, this might seem to be completely foolish. And yet, for many of these groups, this was a key to their victories. And what, you might ask, is this daring, this boldness to believe in a brighter future when all you can see is darkness? This is the essence of optimism. The world gains many things from optimism, but perhaps the two most prominent contributions that optimism gives us are its tendency to spread and the drive to create a better future in the face of insurmountable odds. The first characteristic I mentioned, the contagious nature of optimism, is one that can easily be seen in our daily lives. In this day and age, many people will often look at optimists as being naive and inexperienced. And yet when you're having one of those days when everything is going wrong and when the entire day is going downhill, all it takes is one encounter with an optimist for things to start improving. Although people claim that optimism is for people who trust too readily, who think that the world is too innocent and are too ready to begin to hope when everything still seems bleak, the fact remains that even a single optimist can radically change the lives of those around them. This isn't the impact of someone who's naive or inexperienced. This is the effect of someone who's able to see a glimmer of hope, even in the darkest of times. And most importantly, who's able to give that hope to others, even who can't find it in themselves. Optimism makes the world a better place, not only because it spreads, but also because it provides people with a drive to work towards a brighter tomorrow, even in the worst of times. Many emotions like fear and outrage are prevalent in today's society, but they often falter in the face of overwhelming opposition. Optimism, however, shines brighter the darker things become. How else would a small group of colonists in the 1700s be able to fight a seemingly hopeless war against a much larger British Empire, one of the greatest empires that the world has ever seen? How else would Nelson Mandela have worked towards the empowerment of his people when facing off against an entire regime? And how else would civil rights leaders like Rosa Parks have been able to succeed in achieving equality while in the midst of a century's worth of prejudice and racial hatred? If it wasn't for optimism, how could a person like Martin Luther King Jr., a man who had fought against racism and who had witnessed countless tragedies, have uttered those now famous words, "I have a dream"? All of these individuals were able to accomplish their goals because of their optimism and the initiative that it gave them to improve their world. Now, taken separately, these two elements, a contagious nature and a drive to work toward a brighter future, might seem rather ordinary and commonplace. However, when combined, they form a formidable force. One person's optimism can influence him to begin making the world around him a better place. This optimism then spreads to others, creating a massive change that has permanent and lasting effects on the world around it. This is why the world gains so much from optimism, because it, unlike any other emotion or feeling, can make long-lasting differences in our world. And this is why we need optimism in our lives now more than ever, not just as an abstract concept, but as an actual presence. At a time when war consumes much of our world, when political instability has set into many governments, and divisions have begun to appear among people who were once united, the world needs optimists. It needs people who can see a brighter future through the darkness. Thank you.
Time, if we can have our students stand up, and I think they deserve an awesome round of applause. Okay. At this time, if we can have all the students come up here, please. And again, I just really want to thank your teacher, Miss Hurley. You are awesome and such a great teacher, first year teacher at Harper Creek. Our judges, so I want you guys to thank the judges. Of course, your parents. We have certificates for everyone. You're welcome, Brenton, Danielle, and Julian. So, quickly, I just would like you guys everyone, if you could just quickly go down and tell everyone your name and what grade you're in.
Hi, my name's Laura Longnecker, and I'm in 9th grade.
I'm Julian Warner in 9th grade.
I'm Allison Grimm, and I'm in 9th grade.
I'm James George, and I'm in 12th grade.
I'm Brendan Peck, and I'm in 9th grade.
I'm Danielle Stewart, and I'm in 10th grade.
Oh.
I have the first, second, and third place winners. Third place winner. And then I would like, once I give out the medals and the checks, if you could tell a little bit about yourselves, okay? So third place winner is Allison Graham.
All right, well, I'm Allie, and I love public speaking, and I love doing research and speaking in front of people, and it was just so amazing to be here and talk to everyone about optimism. Something else, I play guitar. That's about it. That's my life. Oh, and lacrosse. And lacrosse. That's it. Thank you.
And second place winner is James George.
So I guess a little bit about me.
Where you want to go to college?
I am a 12th grader at Lakeview High School. I'm going to college at the University of Michigan for biomedical engineering. That's something of a passion of mine. I've done some research at WMU. I like to play tennis, not very good at it, but still like it. And I like to read, so not too much there. But
And our first place winner and $300 check is Alora Longwalker.
Hi, I'm Alora Longnecker. I'm a big nerd. I love literature. I love writing. I love music too. I love to listen to it. And I run track. Yep.
Laura will be moving on to May 20th to the district level, and I'll get you more information. And also every student, so our club has been very gracious, and here's a $50 bill for you. $50 bill, maybe for Dad's birthday. A $50 bill for you. And I would like, Julian, will you just tell a little bit about yourself? And I want the other to also.
Yeah, I'm a 9th grader at Harper Creek High School. I was born in Washington, lived there for 8 years, moved to South Dakota, lived there for 4 years, and this is my first year here. And I play the cello, play football, and run track.
Hi, I'm Brendan. I'm pretty smart. I take a class at KCC, sociology, and I mainly play tennis.
Hi, I'm Danielle. Sports are pretty much my life. I run cross country, play basketball, and run track. Don't really have a ton of time for anything else, but I also play the flute in concert band.
Things up again, I told you guys, since you guys have been doing this, and when I come into your third block, I'm so proud of you guys, and the courage, and how you just continue to get better and better, and then to stand up in front of adults. It's so nerve-wracking, and you all did amazing, and I have goosebumps. I'm just so proud. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.